Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I'm Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas, joined by Brian Leonard at B Leonard Sports. Remember to keep that one handy here later on, K-State fans, and Teddy Savransky at Teddy_covers. Today's Baylor at Kansas State video is brought to you by GoPowerCat.com. Shout out to Tim Fitzgerald and all of my favorite guys over there for giving me great inside information on this team for years. Make sure you guys head over to GoPowerCat.com for all of your K-State needs. Brian was joking with me in the green room. Obviously, he knew he was going to be doing this video with me. He said, oh, I'm going to bet against K-State all the time. That's why I said keep in mind his Twitter handle. Brian, K-State 2.5-point favorite, now down to 1. That reverse line movement, money coming in on the dog, worries me as a K-State fan. But I feel like K-State -1 here is the play.
I actually did bet against them last week.
That was smart.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. Yeah, you got a Baylor team here. When you take a look at the teams that they played, they've actually out-yarded their opposition compared to Kansas State by 142 yards a game. But K-State's played a 6-point tougher schedule so far, so you got to take that with a grain of salt. But one thing that does concern me from the K-State side is they allow 6 yards per carry. Baylor runs the ball 6 yards per carry. That's what Baylor's going to try to do. They did that last week and had success. So, you know, the only team that K-State has really kept under 4.5 yards per carry has been Bowling Green, one of the worst teams in college football. That's my major concern. That's the way I think this game's going to go. I think Baylor's going to be able to take time off the clock. But we've lost all value. As you pointed out, the line's been bet down. Now it's Baylor 1. Wouldn't surprise me it gets down to pick 'em. Baylor coming into the season was one of the teams I was really high on, and a lot of other people were, and they've done nothing to disappoint at this point. So I think Baylor wins, but it won't be on my card this week.
All right, Teddy, afternoon game in Manhattan, Kansas. A lot of people have not been there, right? I grew up going to games every single weekend or every other weekend. Bill Snyder Family Stadium is a tough place to play, especially when you've had plenty of time to tailgate prior. College kids are still up. Yes, that loss last week, getting into the top 25, losing in Stillwater was devastating, but I think the hopes are still high for Chris Klieman and the Wildcats. That place is going to be rocking. I made the game 3.5. I did not overvaluate Baylor's win over Iowa State. I played Baylor, and actually was kind of disappointed in their second half play. Is that kind of what we're seeing here with maybe why money's coming in on Baylor's, because of the overreaction of how bad K-State got beat in Stillwater?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're talking about where's the market moving this week, the markets are generally going to move towards the teams that look good and against the teams that look bad. And Baylor wire-to-wire cover. You know, it was again last week against Iowa State, even though they blew the lead in the fourth quarter of that game. They also marched down the field to kick the game, the game-winning score, which you have to give them credit for that. They took a punch and they punched back, and that tends to be the type of team I like to have on the road the next week, or in point spread range where the winner is likely to cover the point spread, like this one. But what happened with K-State last week? I mean, that to me is the bigger, the number one piece of this handicap. Because all of a sudden, that big win over Mississippi State doesn't look quite as good.
Well, no, you have a nice...
Mississippi State's, the only time they look good was against Kentucky, who all of a sudden is stinking right now. And it wasn't the same team after losing that game to Florida.
I think what's more disappointing is coming out of that bye week looking so flat.
And well, it wasn't flat. They weren't any good, okay? They couldn't control the line of scrimmage. The defense couldn't get stops on third down. The offense had no chance to move the football. And when you have 2 weeks to prepare.
There was two big runs by Chuba Hubbard that really decided that game. If you really want 2 big touchdown runs that they were unable to stop the run, which, like you said, is a concern for you against Baylor. But outside of that, K-State had opportunities to cover that game. Why Chris Klieman kicked a field goal down 20 was absolutely atrocious.
They were down 20. You understand? I mean, you say, oh, they had opportunities. They're down 20, all right? If you're down 20, you're not in the game. Okay, well, the game, if you're betting Kansas State last week, you're thinking they're going to come out and be in this game throughout, and they weren't. And the offense didn't work against a mediocre team. Now, that's on the road, and now they are back home. And certainly from a spot standpoint, I mean, what's the road game Baylor that played this year? They play Rice?
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't left the state of Texas. They haven't left town. I guess Waco down at Dallas, but it's not, it's down to Houston, I say, but certainly not they haven't played in a truly hostile environment yet. So spot-wise, it sure stands out as a great K-State spot. But what I saw last week was a team that wasn't very good, and that worries me this week because we know Baylor's pretty good.
All right, awesome stuff, guys. WagerTalk TV users get $25 in wager bucks added to your account after your first purchase at either WagerTalk or SportsMemo.com.